What's up, Thumpers? Welcome back to another episode of Hyper Heroes here on Hyper Rabbit Power Go. We now live in a post-Avengers Endgame universe, and I'm going to tell you this right at the top of this episode. There are things in this episode that are going to be spoilers.
We're going to spoil the crap out of it.
So we're going to put time codes in the description. So if you want to get past the spoilers, you know where to look.
Can we just make a disclaimer that from this episode on,
it's all
going to have spoilers from now on?
Because this episode's coming out this weekend. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not until Monday is when the official, according to the Russos and according to my dumbass Twitter post,
No.
Can we actually just talk
I've
about
seen
it?
commercials on TV that show
Of course.
Professor
Everything.
Hulk, that show Rescue,
Yeah.
that show
matter.
the final
Doesn't
fight.
matter.
I know.
Like,
We're going to give all these babies 2 weekends like they asked for.
10
Go
days.
see it this. If you still haven't seen it, go see it this weekend, like literally right now, Saturday, Sunday.
Don't watch us. Go watch
Because
the movie
Monday-
and then come back and watch us.
I'm just going to be tweeting shit.
I'm
Just
just tweeting
like, this
everything.
happened, this happened.
All the
this was
memes.
tight. This was tight. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%
ready.
agree. So just so you know, it's full spoiler territory today.
Yeah.
Also, I want to let you know, everyone on the Patreon has been absolutely crushing it. Patreon.com/hyperrpg. We hit our first goal, which is unlocking movie commentaries. We announced a very special RPG that we're now going to be debuting every single month on the Patreon. Mass Effect RPG Adventum. Naeem is behind the camera. He's just kind of nodding his head, and he's very excited. They've been doing a great job filming episodes for that. We just dropped the first one, and then every month going forward, there will be a new episode posted exclusively to Patreon. We also have a poll out right now for movie commentary. It's the first movie commentary. We're also going to be recording a movie commentary for Darkman. That is for the Patreon from last year to fulfill a reward from last year.
Yep.
That one is for Darkman, Sam Raimi's Darkman. We're going to make that one public just so you all understand and I kind of have an idea of what the movie commentaries are going to be like. And then if you want to join the Patreon, you can go ahead and do that, and you'll have access to all the ones that we're going to do in the future.
Yeah.
We also had some great questions. If you join the $5 Hyper Homie tier, you have an opportunity to submit questions. We are literally like 2% away from unlocking monthly Q&As through Patreon only.
Damn.
So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for a lot more questions from
and
you guys.
we're like 60% to the Invincible podcast.
Something like that, yeah. Like we're getting there. We're getting there. So I'm excited to do that. I hope we can get to that. So far, everyone's been crushing it. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
Do we want to tell
So
people
thank you very
what
much.
movie is in the lead right now?
Yeah, so the movie currently in the lead, I believe it's about 45%, is John Wick the First.
Yeah, boy.
John Wick the First.
John Wick the First. So obviously John Wick is coming out later this month. So the way that we sort of selected all the movies was I put together a list of movies coming out theatrically on Blu-ray and movies that are celebrating anniversaries, 10, 15, 20, 25, and so on. And then out of the list, we each kind of like picked a few movies that we thought would be really, really fun.
Right.
I'm going to spoil this question because it wasn't included on the list, but Jamaica Hayes, thank you so much for being a patron.
Did she get a grito?
Yeah, she is. She does. But she also has a question
Quick
later.
one.
A quickie.
Little quick one. Thank you, Jamaica. Thank you.
Had a great question asking if we were going to take submissions from our patrons or if we're going to be taking submissions from people. We'll have to talk about that and figure out exactly how that would work because there are over 500 or about 400 some odd people on Patreon.
Yeah.
So we took over 400 submissions. I don't even know where we would start to filter out all those things.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we'd have to sort of figure something out. So we'll do that and we'll keep you guys updated on how we do all that. But yes, we obviously want you guys to submit. Part of the voting process should also be you guys being able to submit options.
Absolutely.
But right now we have 8 options.
Yeah.
And for those who are not in on the know, can we tell them what those 8 options are? Because we know that John Wick the First is winning, but what else is on there?
I don't remember all 8 of them off
Yeah.
the top of my head, but I know Chronicle is on there because Brightburn's coming out. You had picked How to Train Your Dragon 3.
How to Train Your Dragon 3 and
Drag Me to Hell. Star Trek
Yeah.
2009.
Yep.
What was the other thing you picked?
Maverick.
25th anniversary of Maverick.
Maverick.
Yeah, so
Godzilla's on
Godzilla's
there.
on there.
What did you pick,
else did
Adam?
you
You
pick?
picked a bunch of them.
I
You
picked
picked
4.
Yeah.
I picked John
Gareth
Wick,
Edwards,
Godzilla, Chronicle.
I think I still have the
What's
sheet.
the
Hold
other
on,
one?
Let me see if I can find the sheet real quick.
Oh man, I can't remember what the 8th one is.
Yeah.
But
They
if you
were
go to
all
Patreon, you'll be able
cool.
to find out what they
Yeah.
are.
They were all
Yeah,
great.
so we definitely try to pick movies that were relevant to the month's releases or stuff that's on Blu-ray. And as the Patreon continues to grow, we'll have opportunities to kind of split some stuff apart. If we reach a certain goal that we come up with, we could then just do a video that's just related to Blu-ray releases or just anniversary stuff or just theatrical releases. So there's plenty of opportunities. It just depends on how the Patreon grows. And if it continues growing, we'll be able to unlock all those possibilities. But for now, we kind of have to bundle everything together as it's small, and as it grows, we can sort of branch it out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's a cool.
Start young. Plant them seeds.
Plant them seeds,
my
baby.
baby.
The potentiality, as Hector likes to say.
Thank you.
It's my favorite word. Also, we're obviously Avengers Endgame has been doing incredibly well at the box office, $1.7 billion. Wow. It's expected to make an additional $150+ million this weekend, which means it will beat The Force Awakens' second weekend.
Yeah.
They're not expecting a huge drop off. This thing
not
has the
gonna drop
potential to go very, very far and to
Yeah.
potentially.
It's okay. We don't have to do that.
Malik is just crawling under the light, so the no shadow goes by. But it has the potential to slowly start reaching the potential to beat
Avatar
movies like
status.
Titanic
Yeah.
and Avatar.
Yeah.
So that's really, really exciting. Speaking of The Force Awakens, before we start, I think we need to talk about this. Peter Mayhew,
Yeah.
the actor who portrayed Chewbacca in episodes 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, passed away at the age of 74. Everything that I've seen about Peter Mayhew online for the last 48 to 72 hours has been nothing but love.
Yeah.
Jack Shipley tweeted something really, really great about running into Peter Mayhew when he was at a celebration, and Peter Mayhew was seated next to Ray Park. Ray Park's line was endless, and Peter Mayhew's wasn't. And Jack went up and talked to him, and he just talked about how Peter Mayhew was so kind and just so humble. And Chewbacca is probably like one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe. He's definitely someone who is that shoulder to lean and cry on. He's that best friend. He's aggressive yet gentle and kind. And he's just one of the most beloved characters in Star Wars. So it's a huge loss, obviously, to the Star Wars community. And it's an amazing character. And they got somebody really, really good to sort of take over the mantle for Peter Mayhew. But,
Did you see his message as well on social
I did.
media,
Jonas
that actor?
Swotmo, yeah.
That
Really
was
great
also
message.
Really, really great to see pictures of both of them with the black makeup.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You're absolutely right. And even before before he passed away, I thought you were going to say every message you've ever heard of this actor in the decades leading up to where we are now has always been one that's been positive.
Oh,
That's true,
and
too.
for the most part, they
That's
have
true,
been.
too,
Yeah.
This isn't a out of nowhere.
No.
Let's be respectful and
Right.
we forgot about him.
Yeah.
And consistently
For 40+
beloved
years.
by
Yeah.
fans and by people who worked with him. Which is
Yeah,
great.
I mean, Harrison Ford had a beautiful thing to say about him and their friendship and how they've been friends for so many years. Obviously, they worked so closely together.
Right. They were best buds.
Yeah, exactly. Like literally in fiction and in reality.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a huge loss. But, every time a Star Wars actor passes away, we're reminded of what kind of legacy they leave.
Right.
Outside of Star Wars, some of these actors didn't necessarily do a lot, but the impact they had on one franchise was so huge that they will be forever remembered for that. And to be remembered as someone like Chewbacca, is great. And a lot of these actors do incredible charity work as well. So they're leaving behind really amazing legacies.
My favorite thing to come out of, not that it's a favorite thing, out of this situation, but is all the fan art that comes out. Like everybody paying tribute. I saw this really beautiful Calvin and Hobbes art style where Princess Leia is leading Chewbacca, and they're like, "Look, you're here now!" And like it was a really beautiful, beautiful fitting for him. So
nice.
yeah, I mean, I nothing but respect for the guy. Obviously, never met him.
Yeah.
Like it would have been cool to meet him. But yeah, you're right. He's gonna live on forever in the hearts and minds of all our Star Wars freaks.
I met him once at Star Wars Comic-Con very, very briefly,
Yeah.
and he was super, super nice.
Yeah.
So I guess now we can get into the post-Endgame revelations.
Oh my goodness.
So, again, spoilers to the nth degree.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of discussion over the last, week since this movie's been out.
Yeah.
A lot of people trying to pick apart a lot of the logic of the story and things that happen, things that are not explained, things that are explained but don't make sense. I talked about this a little bit in our review, and I think that's sort of the general consensus is because this movie is just so good and entertaining, and it fulfills so much of a promise started 11 years ago, there are a lot of nitpicks that I don't necessarily care for, or things that I interpreted myself as a movie watcher that I didn't need explained, that I interpreted, and it kind of sucked to see the Russo brothers, less than a week after this movie's been out, to feel obligated to have to answer all these things that reporters are asking them. And I'm like, can't we wait a little longer before we talk about this stuff?
Yeah, like the movie is still super hot in theaters, and now they're on like a question answering press tour. It seems
it's Endgame 101.
It kind of sucks, dude. It's sucking to me, honestly, and I hate to be nitpicky like that, but it's kind of sucking the fun out of the movie right now.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher Nolan, one of my favorite moments in 2010 was when Inception came out, and a lot of people at the end of the movie are like, well, how can you leave us on such a cliffhanger and not tell us whether or not Cobb gets out of the mind game or not? Like, is he in reality or is he not? And Christopher Nolan's like, that's up to you to decide.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
We planted all the seeds.
Exactly.
We told you the story. We gave you all the info. Now it's up to you to decipher it.
Just like when Childish Gambino came out with This Is America. so much stuff in there. And they was asked about it. He was like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, it's
like
however you interpret it.
You get what you want from it. Yeah, it's like he doesn't need to explain it because what he says is there, and it's up to you to decipher it.
Yeah.
And not to say that, like, they shouldn't answer our questions, but also, like, just enjoy it for now. Like, think about it later. Yeah. Maybe think about it after Far From Home because there's still some questions that are going to be answered there.
It's annoying when I'm seeing people that go, I didn't like the movie because this thing didn't make sense.
Exactly.
Because it's usually like, cool. You didn't pay attention. Like, they do explain that.
Someone tweeted me, and then someone tweeted me, and then they deleted their tweet because they realized they were wrong because they didn't think about it. And I was like, well, at least I didn't have to answer.
Exactly. Like, and that sucks. And that's a bummer that people I'm seeing on the internet are going straight to, like, I didn't like the movie because. It's like,
the entire movie,
man. Yeah. You didn't even... Like, there's an explanation for it.
You didn't connect the dots here.
Also, like what Adam said a second ago, though, just, like, let yourself enjoy the movie without letting that stuff, like, break it for you because it shouldn't really. Because if you're upset about that, you really should not have been excited at all about the first Iron Man movie. Because there's plenty of that stuff in there, too. Like, it's all
but
fake.
Also, they know the community we're in. Like, they know that it's all these details and things like this is the reason why we're so invested in it, right? Like, we spent the last 10 years because, oh crap, now Thor, what's it called, the second one, Thor 2?
Dark World, yeah.
I even forgot the name. Now that one makes a lot more sense, though, and it makes me really want to pay attention to it now.
Yeah, or like, and then even like in the Winter Soldier, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, they reveal, like, they hinted, oh, Winter Soldier Bucky kills Howard and Maria Stark, and then that pays off in Civil War.
And then it pays off.
So there are these little details that that's part of the whole thing.
Right. But I feel like, honestly, it's too soon. Like, let's just chill out a little bit. Let's hold our questions till after Far From Home. Yeah. And then we'll see what's up.
I've watched
that's
it.
The end of the phase.
I've watched it 4 times now.
Same.
Just once, guys.
I saw it in IMAX.
Again, brother.
I know.
I saw it in IMAX 3D, which was absolutely gorgeous, down at the Chinese theater. And then I saw it in 3D, just regular 3D, up here at Universal. And it's great. Every time I watch it, I notice something new.
Yeah.
You know,
so
like,
I found Howard the Duck at the
end.
You found, see?
Okay. I started looking, I'm like, there he is.
Found him.
Yeah, like
I understood that reference.
Every time I watch the movie, there's something new, or there is something plot related. I'm like, oh, they did talk about it. It's a very quick address, but there it is. It's that thing. You know, there's a lot of stuff. So here we're gonna go through. We're not gonna like go into detail. We're gonna kind of go through the list.
Because we could spend hours talking about this.
There's only a few things I think on here that are kind of important.
Okay.
But one of the big things, obviously, Kevin Feige, they did an Academy conversation with Marcus McFeely, Christopher Marcus, and Stephen McFeely, and Joe Russo talking about when these movies started to sort of be plotted out. And it's sort of been in the game plan about 5 or 6 years, but it really wasn't until Civil War that they started figuring out what the story was when they were in production on Civil War.
Cool.
So that just goes to show how far ahead they make the decisions for a lot of these movies. That's before Ant-Man and the Wasp, Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man Homecoming, all these movies are being
Avengers
made.
1. Thanos was in Avengers 1,
exactly,
dude. Like,
exactly.
I saw it on TV the other day. I was like, how long ago was this?
I
Like,
know.
they've been thinking about this for such a long time.
And like, you know,
crazy.
I mean, 7 years doesn't feel like a long time, but you think about how many movies have come out in 7 years. It's absolutely crazy.
To me, it really sparks it because all of us career-wise were in such a different place back then too. We were all working on those movies back then, and I'm just like, how long ago was that? Like,
I know.
That was so
9
freaking
years
long
ago that we started doing visual effects.
What?
That's crazy.
It's crazy. I know. It's insane. Another thing that they revealed was it was Robert Downey's idea to not actually talk during his death scene. He felt that it added weight to sort of the severity of the injuries he sustained from snapping his fingers. Yeah. Therefore, when he dies, you really feel like, oh, damn, like there really was a sacrifice made.
Because he always has something to say.
Exactly. And instead, being the futurist that he is, he records a message that they play later at the funeral or prior to the funeral, which I thought was great.
So all of that was Robert Downey's idea?
That was Robert Downey's idea.
Doesn't surprise me because I just spent today doing the special features for Captain America Civil War. Yeah. And they talked about how once they signed Downey, he's such a good collaborator.
Right.
And he got so excited about the story as well. And he's, Iron Man and he's Tony Stark and he's contributing the ideas to that storyline and to how they're shooting scenes scenes and the blocking and everything, so that like he's the type of actor that works with the Russos, where he'll like give a little bit something and then he'll kind of step back and sort of let them
take it. Yeah.
But like they talked about that relationship, so it does not surprise me that even to Endgame, that's what he's delivering.
Yeah, and they talked about that, and they said not a lot, but there are definitely actors who are a little more hands-offish, where they completely entrust Marvel to do what they want to do with the characters. But you have people like RDJ, Chris Evans, Hemsworth, mostly like the core Avengers, who are very much, they want to have input, they want to help shape the arc and the trajectory of the character, where they can go. There's a big thing about Hemsworth in here as well, and we saw it from Thor to the Dark World to Ragnarok and going forward, how the character evolves, and a lot of that came from Hemsworth. And Joe Russo had a lot of praise for Hemsworth as an actor who can
feels very much like him.
Yeah, where it can be one, really good looking, two, be comedic, but three, when he has emotional moments and he's really dealing with all the anguish and pain, he delivers it. So it's been great.
Like a badass.
Yeah, so it's been great to really to hear that, like what you're talking about on special features or through interviews, that these actors are very much collaborative, and that Marvel is accepting of that, and that they openly, nice, Malika.
Good job.
That they embrace that they embrace creativity. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
This is sort of a big thing, because there was a lot of conversations online. Why didn't the Avengers take the Space Stone or the Tesseract from Asgard while it was in Thor: The Dark World? Because technically they were there at the same time. So I guess Marcus and McFeely wrote a draft that had Tony accompanying Thor to Asgard. He even had a fight sequence with Heimdall, which is pretty cool.
Tony did?
Tony did.
Whoa.
He was supposed to be like in an invisibility suit, but Heimdall could still technically see him.
Yeah, because he can see everything.
Yeah, so he thought he was sneaking in, all this stuff. But they were going there to get the ether and the Tesseract.
Yeah.
And Joe Russo read it and he said, "Well, but we got to go to the Avengers. That's like that movie is so fun
iconic,
and epic. That's iconic." And the reason they said that they avoided that was because they didn't just want the movie to feel like we're going back to the greatest hits. And I'm like, but Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah,
I know.
It's not greatest hits.
But
no one's considering it at that point.
But here's the thing: I feel like that's on purpose, that they went back to Thor: The Dark World because no one considers it a greatest hit.
Exactly.
So
And I think it works really well.
It's not as masturbatory. It's not as self-referential. It's not as like,
look how awesome we are.
Yeah, it's like, let's go to the one nobody cares about.
Exactly, and make it matter.
Make it matter. So that was that challenge, and I think that they
pulled it off.
And it was so important for Thor as a character too.
So important for Thor, but at the same time, you're gonna go to Morag in 2014 to see Peter Quill, which is a moment, and then to go to the Avengers in 2012, I think was brilliant.
It's all brilliant.
And then going to Vormir, like I think like there's payoff for all these things, going to all these places. So I thought that was great. They had other drafts too that had the Avengers going to, what's the Shield headquarters in Winter Soldier called? The
Triskelion?
To try to get some stones from there, but they ended up moving it all to Avengers 2012 territory, which I thought was cool. And then obviously, like I was talking about, because Endgame was written before Thor Ragnarok, Chris Hemsworth, Taika, and the writers, they would all have creative meetings together. Those guys flew out from New Zealand, where they were filming, to Georgia to have meetings about, okay, what are you guys trying to do with Thor in Ragnarok? Does that align up for where we want to take him in Infinity War and Endgame?
That's amazing.
And it ended up working out almost really naturally. So thank God for that. Otherwise, I don't know how Hemsworth would have enjoyed playing that role moving forward.
Absolutely.
If he didn't get to keep some of that Ragnarok.
Well, especially if they were writing two completely different Thors.
Yeah.
You know, like
exactly.
What if the Taika's Thor wouldn't have talked shit to Noob Master online?
Yeah.
You know, like what if he wouldn't have played Fortnite?
Yeah.
Would it have been the same? Thank you, Thor.
Thank you, Thor.
Right, like it could be. It would have not have made sense, but it was so beautifully written.
Also,
that it connects.
I've only seen very few people bring this up, but the fact that they put Korg in Taika's pineapple
amazing.
Oh, sure,
is amazing.
The
or his
whole
button-up.
the whole shorts and the shirt combo.
Amazing.
Pizza Chef. I Love You 3000. So for a few days, a lot of people were thinking that the number 3000 came from the total number of minutes that the Marvel Cinematic Universe equals from Iron Man all the way to Spider-Man Far From Home. Coincidentally, it actually does equal just a little over 3,000 minutes, but that's not where it came from. Robert Downey and his kids, I guess they share I Love You 3000. So Robert Downey brought that in. What an iconic line. Like that's how like everyone is addressing Marvel and the actors as a thank you. I Love You 3000.
I saw a beautiful meme in which it was the little girl. She said, "I love you 3000."
Yeah.
The next frame was Andre 3000 going, all right.
I did see that too. That's great.
That's amazing.
I love the internet sometimes.
So this is also kind of a big one. my interpretation of the ending of the movie was that Steve Rogers, because he had taken 2 extra Pym particles from 1970s in New Jersey and goes back into the modern time, he then takes the stones, returns them back to where they're supposed to go, uses the extra Pym particle to go into the past, lives his life with Peggy, thus creating an alternate reality where he exists and Captain America from the 40s exists, who is frozen still for 70 years. And they too coexist in the same universe. Then he uses the 4th Pym particle to jump back into the main timeline to hand off the shield to Sam Wilson. That is sort of what Marcus McFeely and the directors are also confirming as well.
Not quite. The directors confirmed it.
But
the screenwriters believe that it was a older Cap who was there and with us in the regular timeline the whole time. Because remember, the screenwriters, Marcus and McFeely, have written Captain America: The First Avenger, The Winter Soldier, Civil War.
They also wrote Thor: The Dark World.
They wrote Thor: The Dark World? Pretty sneaky, sis.
Sneaky.
But they also did Agent Carter. And in that show and in Winter Soldier, we've talked about it, Peggy reveals that she was married. You never see pictures of the husband. You never saw pictures of the husband in the Winter Soldier when older Peggy's there at the bed. You just see her pictures of her kids and stuff. So the screenwriters are actually saying that they believe the theory that after Steve puts everything back, he's able to travel back in time, and the timeline has been ours the whole time, where he marries Peggy, changes his name, never gets his picture taken, and him and Peggy lived a life together and was beautiful. And then when Cap got unthawed from the ice in 2011, Cap was already old. Original Cap was already old and just kind of hung back and
didn't do anything.
That's what they believe. The Russo brothers believe that it's an alternate reality situation. You know, I saw an article saying, like, couldn't they have gotten their stuff together? But it's a thing of, like, either way, it kind of doesn't matter. The important thing is, like, the details really don't matter.
They ignored each other no matter what.
Right. The important thing is that you get that amazing sentimental ending and handoff. And the other thing too is if you're trying to say that he couldn't have gone back in time and changed his past because it would have broken the timeline. Again, those screenwriters have worked on all those projects that have mentioned Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter specifically so that you never knew who his husband was. So they laid it out so that he could have gone back to his actual original timeline.
And it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
And it still would have worked. So
exactly.
So there's differing opinions.
Either way, I like that all the creators have all different opinions because it's all up in the air. Like it leaves, it's like the end of Inception. It's like you choose, you believe, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Cap's out of the universe.
Exactly. And like when you're working, when you're collaborating with directors and writers, you know, the writers will write it one way, but then it's up to the directors to sort of take that written form and interpret it to what they think is the best story. So yeah, if there's differing opinions, maybe someday it'll be addressed in a What If animated series, in some sort of Marvel one-shot, or it never will be. And
maybe they'll just never touch it again, and we'll be like, gosh, I wonder what happened.
And that's fine. You know, like I'm okay with it.
I kind of hope it's an alternate reality because I hope that Steve Rogers didn't go back in time to like our
and just ignored all the events.
And just ignored not only the events of the Avengers, but just the events of American history.
Sure.
They were pretty shitty in the 50s and 60s.
They wouldn't do you like that, Hector. They wouldn't do
Steve
Captain
Rogers
America like that.
Would be a good enough dude to go, I'm going to run for president. I'm going to be the first man to walk on the moon. And he would have been Neil Armstrong. Because that stuff has happened in Captain America comics before, where he did get to go back and he kind of changed the course of American history for the better.
There's no way Cap could ignore that. Like his personality, he could not ignore that. If he had the even if he had the super soldier serum or not, like he would still be there.
If anything, and
Malika has gone past that light every which way
and has never touched it.
Like we're gonna see her repel like
like some Spidey webs,
some impossible shit, just so she can avoid a quick shadow. And we're telling her like, you don't have to do that.
I think
please be comfortable.
I think also the thing that's exciting is maybe the What If could address that. You know, maybe the What If could be a story of like Steve going into this alternate reality, knowing all the history of America, and influencing the operation of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Peggy and what she does. Maybe S.H.I.E.L.D. gets or maybe Hydra gets eradicated out of S.H.I.E.L.D. earlier.
He walked into S.H.I.E.L.D. and be like, "Where's Arnim Zola?"
Exactly.
Punch him in the face.
Like just immediately.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? He would have been the director of
and
S.H.I.E.L.D.
he could have done it from the back seat, letting Peggy handle all of it.
That's
just
what
giving
I'm saying.
her intel.
Chris Evans is not going to do any of this. It could be all Agent Carter handling this stuff.
But that's what I'm saying. That like I hope it's the alternate thing.
Sure.
Because if he did stay in our timeline, he didn't change shit.
Exactly.
He just retired, and that pisses me off. So I'd rather it was an alternate timeline where if you
he
pop
didn't.
over there,
Because Peggy's not going to retire.
I refuse to believe that he sat on the sideline.
So when Steve goes, It was beautiful. I'm hoping he pictures him walking on the moon, being the president for 2 terms.
He wanted to be with Peggy Carter, Hector.
Yeah, but he could still do stuff in his spare time.
Because I don't think Peggy Carter would have given up her career either.
No,
Marching
she's not
with
giving
Cesar
up.
Chavez,
They're both very important people.
You know, getting gay rights in like the 60s.
Right?
Just getting it done.
It would have been the most progressive,
Dude,
alternate reality.
Would have been
Of
amazing.
course.
You go over there and in 2019 they're like space cars and
straight
shit.
up.
They're on the moon.
The Earth's all green. There's whales flying in the air.
Already in jail. Like it's all, like that's what that reality is.
That never happened.
It would have been the anti-alternate 85.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be glorious.
It'd be the best.
So another thing, there's been a lot of conversation talking about Black Widow's death and sort of the sacrifice that she made. A lot of justification from the directors and the writers, and sort of the pushback against that. I thought the most interesting thing that they brought up was that they had considered not making it Natasha, making it Clint, but they got pushback from the female crew on the production of the movie saying, no, let Widow have that moment. She's earned it. Let her have it. Let her make the sacrifice.
She's a better fighter than I can understand totally both sides of the debate on this, I guess. I understand 100% the side of, well, it sucks that the main female Avenger character died and didn't get a funeral. Like, totally.
That was 100%. My biggest thing, was like not acknowledging in any sort of
100%.
ceremonial thing.
The screenwriters talk about, well, we felt that the moment with Clint and Wanda was like acknowledging that, you know, that maybe we didn't see the funeral held for Widow. We saw the funeral held for Tony Stark and those characters, and we didn't see the Widow one. And I also understand everything that the filmmakers talk about and how they said, yeah, we also had like female members of the crew that felt that it was the right direction for her to be the one to be to make the sacrifice. It really feels like the culmination of her story arc. I just completely get both sides. It's just the reason I think it's crappy is just because like it goes back
general
to
consent.
The first Avengers movie only had 6 characters, 1 woman.
Right.
Like, you know, their main.
It'd be different if like Wasp was an original Avenger or other
but then
characters.
That changes what this franchise kind of is up to this point, and but you can still like love everything that they've done, which is me, but also go, they could have had a female-led movie earlier.
Totally,
absolutely,
a Black Panther movie.
She could have had. She could have had a movie in the first phase.
Absolutely. Yeah. So. And maybe if that had happened, then maybe this would have been. It just would have been different. But I do at least appreciate that the filmmakers thought of it. Like
totally.
They didn't like. They weren't blindly not considering how it would look.
Yeah.
They at least thought about it.
They thought about the impact that it would have, not just on the movie, but also the character itself. Yeah. I agree with that, but I still think they did her dirty. Like I still feel like she should not have been the one to die at all. And I feel like. She was leading the Avengers for 5 years on her own, basically. Like after the snap and after they killed Thanos and everything, she was leading the Avengers through what looked like a severe depression as well. Like she was really anguishing over this, and she was trying to keep it all together. And looks like she did a good job. We didn't get any of the details, but she held it together just enough to where they could pull all this off. So without her, who knows what would have happened? And to me, it feels like, I don't know. I feel like she got kind of shortchanged because of the fact that she never got her own movie. Like she's been in there. Like I said, she gave this character as every bit of herself as much as any of the Chris's on these movies.
Totally.
Like all those Chris. Yeah, exactly. And those Chris's all got movies. Like she deserved to go out better than that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's just
my favorite Widow has been in the first Avengers. Even better in the Winter Soldier, and now I think my favorite probably in Endgame.
Yeah,
she was great in Infinity War, but also obviously like the Cap side of the team had a smaller role.
Right.
But I thought she brought so much emotional depth to Widow in this movie, and getting a really good look into her as a character and seeing sort of the culmination of her story, not knowing where she came from, not knowing her family, and then realizing through this movie that like the Avengers are my family.
Yeah.
You know, Steve, Tony, all these guys, these are my brothers.
Yeah.
You know, these are the guys who I fight with, and I'm a soldier, and I will do no matter what to
whatever it takes
to protect my family, which is why I think the scene has so much impact for that character, because it's realizing like I have to make the ultimate sacrifice in order to save my family, and she does that. Whereas Hawkeye, he wants to do it because he doesn't want to lose Nat, but he selfishly also wants to save his family and be with his family.
Right.
Which you understand the dynamics of both those characters and why they feel that way. Why he's not pulled so hard into the sacrificial sort of feeling, and she is, because for her it's all about saving all the other Avengers. She even says in
Absolutely.
the beginning, if there's even a little chance to potentially redeem anything for the characters, for the people that we've lost, it's worth a chance. So
You know what I just
I
realized,
really
too?
love the payoff of that.
The moment I just realized, the moment where Red Skull says, "Natasha, daughter of
Ivan. Yeah.
and then Clint, son of Edith.
Yeah.
When he says that, and then later Jeremy Renner's like, "You could be making this up," and she's like, "No," and he goes, "Why? Because he knows your daddy's name," and she
Yeah.
goes,
I didn't.
And right there, that's
Yeah.
another little moment of like she really has put value in her new family,
Yes.
the
Right,
Avengers,
exactly.
over her literal biological family.
Exactly.
There's a deleted scene from Captain America: Civil War where she talks about going to find her Russian family. She tried to go back to Russia and she found some unmarked graves or something. She did kind of
Yeah.
get it and kind of got that resolution apparently within the MCU. We haven't seen it yet officially, but this movie really drills that home. That
Yeah.
like this is
Right.
this becomes which is
Right.
classic character. It's the Black
Absolutely,
Widow character from the
absolutely.
comics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't shake the feeling.
For
The
sure,
more I
dude.
think about it,
Yeah.
the more I'm like, fuck, man, they
But you gotta watch the
really
movie
screwed
again,
over.
dog.
I know that's the thing, but I don't think that's gonna change my opinion,
I
though.
don't know, dude. Watch it again, dog.
Well, I think for me it would have sort of been validated if they would have given her a movie, 5 to 7 years ago.
Like if they would have showed me that, like, yes, we appreciate this character. Here's your movie, or here's even like the Budapest movie with you and Hawkeye.
15
like
minutes,
yeah,
one
15,
shot,
just something,
TV show or
something
something.
where it showed me that they appreciate
Yeah.
her as a character in the Avengers and as an actor.
I
Yeah.
wonder
Like
if I wonder if our feelings about it will change when
Her
the Black Widow
movie.
movie comes out.
Yeah.
I feel
Like,
like it's
what's
too
that
little,
Black-
too late,
but
though.
what's it
but
gonna do?
I
What's
don't
it
know.
gonna do?
I don't know.
Will
I
it
don't know.
add or will it be too little too
Yeah,
late? Will we
I
see
don't
it and be like, yeah, but we said goodbye to her.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? A couple
exactly.
years ago,
It's
like this isn't like what is it like? What is this?
Yeah, like
adding
what are
to
you
this
what are you
character?
gonna
Yeah.
show me that I need to see about Natasha right
Yeah. I
now?
don't
Because
think
I
it does,
know
dude.
I know her end result, and I feel like her glory moments were her best moments in Endgame. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting to see, but I can't shake that feeling.
Yeah.
I wake
we'll
up
see.
every morning. I'm like, fuck, Natasha, son of a bitch. I wake up in the morning and go, why?
Natasha, why?
And then Cynthia tells me to shut up.
They also wouldn't address what happens when a character returns the Soul Stone to Vormir. So we're gonna have to wait and see.
It doesn't
matter?
Does it matter?
The
No.
only thing I want to know is, did Cap run into Red Skull?
Yeah.
Probably
That's
did.
all I want to know.
I think I saw something about it
just
and
be
saying that Red Skull is more of like an entity now rather than like the
He's not a
skull.
character,
He's
yeah.
like an echo.
He's a
of-
Force Ghost.
Yeah, basically a
yeah,
Force
yeah.
Ghost that doesn't necessarily have
Yeah.
memories of being the Red Skull.
Yeah.
Now he is currently just.
Oh, but
Steven.
still,
Son of Sarah.
He's
yeah, would love to see that.
and
moment.
Steve's like, I've never punched a ghost before, but here goes.
About to.
Pop!
Yeah, because
I got a
Somehow
big
pops
ass
him with-
hammer, you son of a bitch.
the idea of the soul realm of Vormir is so fascinating.
It is,
Right.
What
yeah.
you said is
Yeah.
what it is, where Johann Schmidt has almost evolved
Right.
into this
He's-
almost angelic
yeah,
type. And I
exactly.
don't mean like good, but I mean just like otherworldly,
Just an
spirit,
entity,
yeah.
entity ghost.
Yeah.
You would think that out of every soul in existence, the one soul that could maybe change him, affect him, would be Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And would it be a confrontation or would it be an apology? Would it be like forgiveness?
The-
Would it
the
be-
rooftop
what would it
scene
be?
from Daredevil?
I don't think
What would
this.
it be?
I don't think this Red Skull has those emotions.
Yeah, maybe
I
not.
think he is there
wonder.
solely
Yeah.
as a guide to the Soul Stone.
Yeah.
I think he's
I-
like a slave to the Soul Stone.
I'm just fascinated. I'm picturing a moment in Ratatouille where Anton
What are you
Ego eats the ratatouille and goes.
Oh,
and then, like, flashes back.
gotcha.
I'm picturing that,
gotcha.
like you just said, like Steven, son of Sarah. Oh my God! And he
Jesus
just goes-
fuck! And then he gets
just-
punched in the
He
face.
remembers like his life and his
Yeah.
decisions and him
It
killing.
is your
like,
fault.
him killing Jews and
Yeah.
him like he killed Abraham Erskine's family.
Right, right.
And then kept him prisoner to make
Yeah.
him a scientist. That was all in the comic book. And like all that shit that he did, he was
Yeah.
a Nazi.
Right.
And I wonder, like, what, like, would it affect him, or would
I don't
Captain
think
America
so.
beat his ass?
I don't
like,
think so. I think
Fascinating.
I think the Soul Realm it exists on a different
yeah,
way than we understand.
that must
It's-
be frustrating for Steve.
Exactly. Like he would have just been frustrated to be like,
Don't you know
this
you're a Nazi?"
motherfucker. Like,
Yeah.
Don't you know?
And then on top of that, like if someone does return the Soul Stone, does that release whoever the
Correct.
keeper of the
It-
Soul Stone is at that moment?
apparently it doesn't, but I don't know.
I
We
heard
don't. We
from the
don't. Those
actor-
rules were never explained.
I heard from the actor Ross Marquand. He did say that the one who's doing his new voice is not Hugo Weaving. He did say that the Russos told him, the screenwriters told, I think it was the Russos, that like, yeah, once the stone is actually taken from
Right.
there, he is kind of
free to go.
There's potential for him to not have to be there anymore.
Yeah.
And Ross Marquand was saying, like, we know he can fly. We know that he's got knowledge. Like, where can he go? Can he go somewhere? Can he actually leave?
Can inhabit someone's body?
So
Like, what is he?
If that means that when the soul goes away, maybe that happens. When the stone comes back, does he come back? Or
But also, we don't know what it took to get him there.
Yeah.
Like, we know he was transported by the Tesseract somehow.
Right.
We don't know.
But why Vormir?
Exactly. We don't know the rules that led him to become that entity.
I would like that.
I think that would answer
Disney Plus show.
That would answer the question as to what exactly happens after somebody brings back the Soul Stone.
His journey from 1945 to 2014.
Damn.
Like, what did he
Yeah,
do?
like what kind of cosmic crazy shit did he go through? You know,
I would love it if he did show up on Asgard.
if we go through all these, we're going to talk for like 3 hours.
Yeah,
there's only a couple left.
Okay.
Another big controversial one was Thor being depicted as melted ice cream.
Come on, my favorite.
A lot of I think a lot of it also stems from there were people making comments about Shazam and sort of how they deal with body imagery in that movie. For me personally, with Thor, I loved it because to me it felt real. It felt tragic. He is a character who has done nothing but lost everything in these movies. Asgard, his father, his mother, his friends, the love of his life. He's lost everything. And not all of them have necessarily died, but all of them have exited his life in some point. He's lost his brother multiple times, or at least has thought he's lost his brother multiple times.
He
still cares about
by
Loki.
his brother multiple times.
He's constantly losing something.
Yeah.
And to me, like, I think that's very real. When you've lost so much in your life, you turn to things like alcohol, like binge eating, and just
and
not
also
taking.
You think about just not doing anything anymore.
Unhappiness and depression.
Yeah,
To me, it felt very, very, very real. And the Russos said, like, it wasn't meant to be a gag. It wasn't there to be. It was to illustrate to you what Thor was going through, having failed what he thought was his ultimate mission in life, which was to defend and protect. And he fails at that.
There was some cheap jokes in there.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Like the Rocket line, melted ice cream, it's hilarious.
It's so funny.
It's so
It is
Rocket.
mean. It's so Rocket. The line where Thor says, you know, it's coursing through my veins, and then Rhodey says, cheese whiz. That's a cheap joke.
Sure.
I love
Not
it,
the funniest. It's
I
great.
love it.
Rhodey, that also kind of fits a Cheadle.
Right.
And his version of Rhodey
Absolutely.
up to that point, you know, the way he talked about Thanos
Yeah.
and, everything else. But I will say this. I saw one person. I've seen people say online, they ruined Hulk and they ruined Thor. Ruined them. Why? Because Hulk wasn't this monstrous, badass, kick-ass thing. Instead, he was like sensitive and reflective.
Right.
And everything
smart
that is Professor
and
Hulk.
intellectual,
Why did they ruin Thor? Because he wasn't badass.
God of Thunder.
Look, man,
Right.
this is character evolution. That emotion, that acting is so pivotal. And I said this too. I saw another person online say he definitely should have had a moment where he like magically like lost the weight, got abs, and then became Thor. The fact that the movie didn't do that to me means
that's why I
that
liked
it's-
it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It would have been absolutely, totally fat shaming and all for a joke if at the end Thor would have been like good and then
and
just
skinny.
had
He's
abs.
like, now I'm badass and I'm
Because
skinny.
then the movie would have been saying
Right.
the idealized form of this person,
right.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But the fact that he stayed who he was, his mom told him, just be the best version of who you are.
Yeah.
And then he rode into battle.
Regardless
looking
of it,
like
regardless
Volstagg.
of his body.
He was awesome.
Doesn't
he was
matter.
awesome.
Right.
So for those, he didn't even like cut his hair. He just still
No.
had the beard,
He
except
just
then it became
braided.
Cool.
That was
braided
dope.
That
also,
makes me feel like it's
it
a
also
good message.
says that his problems are not solved. Like
Yeah.
he did not have any character development to where like, oh, suddenly I beat Thanos
Everything's
and
great.
everything's okay
Yeah.
in my life now. That's not how you solve
He
problems.
literally left the kingdom to
Yeah.
Valkyrie so he
Yeah.
could go off and be his own person.
and work on himself.
Yeah.
And
But
exactly.
Still with his
exactly.
gut. Still with who he is. So
Yep.
I
Yeah, dug it.
loved
I
it.
loved it.
I
Yeah.
loved every moment of Chubby Thor. And it's finally a character that I can cosplay.
Bro, are we
Us-
going to go
us
as Thor
thick-
together?
Yeah, we're going to be twin Thors. Us thick
Thick
boys.
Thors.
Us
Time-
thick boys,
time
we
traveling
need
Thor.
a character
you
besides
guys-
Blob that we can
One of you guys
cosplay.
will be the
Lebowski.
like the Lebowski Thor.
And won't be
Yeah.
Thor.
Yes.
like the,
armor.
like the shirtless, like
Yes.
at home Thor.
That would be amazing.
The armored Thor.
Yeah.
Oh, so
The
good.
hiding from his mom.
That's
Thor.
right. I wear this
That
as my
would be
favorite.
that
I wear this all
one.
the time.
I want to
Yeah.
be the bearded Thor though.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
the braided,
Braided
beard.
beard.
Thor.
Yeah,
for
that's the
sure.
best. That's the best.
But I do dude Thor. As well.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the last things that they talked about was the conclusion of Peter Parker's story in that movie and going back to Midtown High. It to me was very clear that when Ned and Peter run into each other, that they were both snapped. They both came back to school, and seeing each other was them realizing, oh shit, we were both snapped.
Yeah.
thank God that we at least still have each other.
Right.
Because I think they probably thought of, like, imagine living for 5 years without one of the other people.
Yeah.
Like how emotionally like depressing that would have been.
Yeah.
And for those two characters to realize, oh man, we have each other. Thank God.
We're in the same place.
We're in the same place, and we can go on this journey together. And it's going to be really curious interesting to see how they sort of tie those loose ends up in Far From Home. We obviously know that if that's the case, then characters like Flash, MJ, and Betty Brant, they also got snapped.
Right.
So we'll see. It'll be interesting. The trailer comes out on Monday.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see what they do and how they sort of talk about things.
Yeah.
Let's keep going because we got 15 minutes.
Lord and Miller's Spider-Verse.
This is interesting.
So Lord and Miller signed a deal where they're going to be taking their production from 20th Century TV, which obviously is going through a shift, and they're moving over to Sony TV. They're going to be developing a whole bunch of projects, their own personal projects, but a lot of it is also going to be set in the Marvel universe. They're going to be developing primarily television stuff. And not really set on whether it's animation or live action. I think for the most part now people are going to assume animation because of things like Spider-Verse, where they're going to have an opportunity to develop stuff that's related to Peter Parker, his villains, any of the characters that are sort of that inhabit that universe, potentially also doing spin-off stuff with characters from Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse in maybe a television series format.
Right.
They're going to be partnering up with Amy Pascal, who actually just recently left Sony for Universal, but she will still be overseeing the Spider-Man property from Sony and also sort of having her hand in the production of all the movie and TV stuff. But between Lord and Miller expanding the Spider-Man universe at Sony, that creates a huge opportunity, but Amy Pascal going over to Universal could potentially lead to things like Namor the Submariner and Hulk maybe possibly getting solo movies at Marvel because she could potentially bridge that relationship.
She's got a good relationship with Marvel.
Yes, Kevin Feige.
With Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
Cool, that'd be dope. Give us a Hulk movie. Introduce She-Hulk. Give us either Namor the Submariner movie or make him the antagonist of Black Panther 2.
Yep. I mean, I think that's kind of like the popular theory right now because of the earthquake.
Because of the earthquake in Wakanda?
Yeah, that's
Which
really
is like a stretch, but I'm also saying that I would not be mad if they went back and retroactively said, like, that was Namor. I'd be like, okay, whatever, dude.
Whatever, it's fine.
The Kid in Iron Man 2's Peter Parker, whatever, I love it, cool. I do love it.
What would you want them to see Lord and Miller do more Spider-Verse stuff, or do you kind of like the fact that just exists as its own movie?
No, I'm for it until it becomes old.
Yeah.
But that movie was so good that I am at a point where I'm like, give me everything for it. And I trust the filmmakers to know what is too much.
Exactly. I'm there as well. The only thing I'm skeptical about is that the art form and the technology used for the movie
will it be there for TV?
It's not the same. It's not going to be the same because they spent so much time, like even watching just a little bit of the special features that I did, it takes so much time to develop each one of the things that, like, every time they had to change Miles's face, they had to redraw the lines that really go around it and have the computer learn what it should look like when he turns in certain ways. TV budgets don't have that. Like, they have a weekly turnaround, sometimes even faster than that they have to do. So that quality is not going to be there, which sucks because that is so much a part of the identity of the movie. So it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do. It would be fun if they even like started clashing universes and each one had its own style, but like different from Spider-Verse, but still have some elements of that, like the comic book panels.
Like if Penny Parker was full on anime.
Right, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
Spider-Man War was like
very
different. And
animatrix, like let's start clashing some styles
and
together,
Spider-Man
which would be cool.
Cartoony.
But then again, also at the same time, that would also be costly on the production end as well. So we don't know exactly
that's true.
What that's going to be.
You know what you're making me feel like? You're making me feel like keep Spider-Verse, the movie as we know it, Miles' universe.
Yes.
And anything, like, don't ever use Miles in anything else unless it's a movie.
Right.
But all those other characters I just mentioned, those two characters can each have a show.
Yeah, let's get Spider-Ham, and then let's get some, like, another version of Spider-Man teaming up together. Or, like, a really, like, maybe like a 1920s, like, Disney-style Spider Noir. Like, with the noodly arms and, like,
classic
some
animation.
crazy. Yeah, like,
I'm for that.
Some cool stuff like that, you know? It's just going to be interesting to see what they're going to do.
I agree. Yeah, my man. This is probably very exciting for you because you have watched a lot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., particularly the Ghost Rider.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you have not?
Not at all.
Oh,
I just saw that
interesting.
episode.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That one episode
where he's first revealed?
Yeah, where he's first
I've seen
revealed.
clips.
So Ghost Rider rides
but
again.
I still love this character.
Yeah.
The
From the
actor,
comics, yeah.
Absolutely.
Gabriel Luna.
Yeah.
Is awesome.
Yep.
And Felipe Smith, who co-created the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider character with
Trad
Moore,
Moore.
was also
It's
the
got to be
artist on
Trad
that.
Moore, dude.
Those are some of my favorite recent character creations.
Yeah.
And I love that Ghost Rider's been on the Avengers. I've read
Right.
Avengers comics with Robbie Reyes in it. And I'm like, this is so sick.
I love that he rides a lowrider.
So I have a deep-rooted love for this character.
Yeah.
And now that we finished Endgame and I've been going through all these movies and I'm going through special features and stuff, I did say I am going to start Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. from the beginning and get to season 4.
Of course you
like,
are.
I'll do it. So by the time this comes out, I'll be caught up and I'll be
yeah.
roaring and ready to go. But like, I am so goddamn stoked about this news.
Yeah.
It is so exciting. Coming to Hulu,
Yep.
same actor reprising that role.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm like thrilled about it.
Yeah.
I think fans have been saying like, just do it. Why haven't you done
Yeah.
it? Perfect
Yeah.
spin-off
It
opportunity.
was. I think it was sort of the same conversation of like, when is Punisher going to get his own spin-off?
For sure.
Because
And
he's
they
so
did.
good, and they did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think between little things that I read about it, between Hellstrom and this Ghost Rider TV series, it seems like they're really going to try and embrace horror. And really infuse it into this universe, and a lot of people are now speculating. Great, if they're going to do that, could this potentially lead to finally bringing back a character like Blade? If we're going to finally embrace horror, I think there's plenty of opportunity now. And I think if you're going to do it on Hulu, you really don't have a limit to what you can do, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think if being on Hulu, it means that they can embrace a little bit more of adult-themed content, a little more horror, a little bit more, genre. Then I think it's a great opportunity to start spreading this universe out beyond what they could do on a cable network and what they can do on Disney Plus, because Disney Plus is meant to be in a family platform,
and what they can do on
family-friendly platform.
Freeform and what
Exactly.
they can do.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Hulu's the same as Netflix.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, yeah.
Anything they pushed on Netflix, they could probably do the same on
For
Hulu.
sure.
Absolutely.
But since the Netflix stuff is all gone, let's keep going.
Yeah.
And also Disney's starting. They have like owning stock in Hulu now. Apparently,
They're trying to
so
acquire
they can throw some money that way too.
Yeah, they're trying to acquire. I believe they own 40%. They're trying to
Yeah.
acquire another 40 to 50 to have 90% ownership of,
see?
Hulu. So
There you go. So that
It's
will
gonna
be
happen no
under
matter what,
there.
I think.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. So throw some of that $2 billion that you just made this last weekend
I know.
towards Robbie
Towards
Reyes.
I
Yeah.
know, man.
Just that Robbie
And
Reyes.
You could.
And listen, and invest in the character because 10 years from now, he could show up in an Avengers movie.
Absolutely.
And it would be the sickest shit.
Dude,
sure.
with the double chains
With
and the
that-
lowrider.
Pulling up to Avengers compound.
With Luis in the passenger side.
Yeah. With who?
Okay, so check
Luis?
this out.
Yeah, with Luis.
Orale!
We found him. He's my homie.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing. I'm
That'd
still
be
mad that they didn't do a recap. Anyway, we're going to answer some viewer questions. If you guys want to submit questions for Hyper Heroes, you can do so in the $5 tier on Patreon. I put out a post every single week. You guys can ask stuff, and we'll try to pick as many as we can. Hopefully, with being able to unlock Q&A only, Patreon question and answer videos, we'll be able to do a lot more. The first question comes from Reese Parton, who's a hyper homie, who says, "We often hear from the three of you about your favorite movies, shows, comics, etc., but I'm interested to know who your favorite novel writer is or what your favorite book series is. Keep up the awesome work. I love you guys. 3,000." Thank you so much, Reese.
3,000 back.
3,000 back to you.
3,000.
I don't really have a particular book series that I'm very fond of. I like to consume most fiction, sci-fi stuff through film. There are very rare moments where I will go read stuff if a movie is based on it or whatever. I really like to read a lot of like business and entrepreneurial books. I'm really into Gary
Like
Vaynerchuk.
self-help stuff.
Yeah, like Tim
Read that book
Ferriss.
I got you?
The Kickstarter book?
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
yet. Not
Oh,
yet.
okay, cool.
Yeah. So I have like Tim Ferriss, Gary Vaynerchuk, all that sort of stuff. I'm really into reading that type of material.
Yeah.
Augie?
Besides the Lord of the Rings, which I
On repeat?
try to
Heard of
read
it?
as much as I can, but I don't really have a favorite author that I follow. If I were to say a specific author, would be Stephen King, because I like to read horror. Like reading The Shining was probably one of the most satisfying books I've ever read, even though it was
a good book.
super terrible. Did you ever finish it?
Oh, yeah, dude.
You finished it, right? It was a good ass book.
It was scary
Um,
to read in Prague.
Yeah.
I'd read it.
that's right.
Yeah, I know. Remember, he was reading it in
That's
Prague.
right.
I don't know how you slept.
You guys, we would get up and you'd be like, "Did you get to those hedges yet?"
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Yeah."
You're
fucking-
got to that
damn
part.
hedges.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a good
also, I'm trying to find one of the I don't really read a lot of books because I like to do audio content stuff. So I do a lot of podcasts. But my favorite book that I recently read, and this was years ago, was that Raise Some Shell book that Hector let me borrow. Who's the author on that one?
God, I forgot. I don't have my phone on me,
I'll try to find it. But
Raise
a
Some Shell. It's the only pop culture analysis of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Raise Some Shell.
At its
yes,
time. It's like
I remember.
This nice little book.
I remember.
Pop culture classics, I think, is what it was called.
Do you have one?
Yeah, I have a
or an
I
author.
Think I have the copy.
Or an author or book? Yeah.
No, man. I love to read.
You're kind of steeped in comic lore.
Yes, it turns out my favorite genre of book is like movie tie-in.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Like I'll read any Star Wars book.
Yeah.
And I'll mostly like them. I'll read any Star Trek book.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely like those.
You'll definitely like all those.
I'll read like I'm reading Mary Poppins right now, the children's book.
Oh, cool.
P.L. Travers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm planning to go through that series. I read like The First Wrinkle in Time, and I want to go.
Well,
finish
Hector,
that
you were in that
series.
book club for a long time.
Dude, I read a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Read a lot of stuff. And
But you didn't come out with like a
Agatha
favorite
Christie.
or.
No, I can't because
You know J.K. is your favorite author then, right?
No. Just 'cause I
You
read
need
her
to
8
know where
books.
wizards poop.
No, she's not my favorite. No, but the fandom's cool and the movies are rad, but that's not my favorite.
Okay.
I didn't grow up on them, but I read a bunch of stuff, and like it was cool because I got to read a bunch of different genres to see what I kind of like, and I tend to feel like I like stuff the way I like my movies. You know, well, I had great co-hosts on that show, Rachel Hine and Maude Garrett, and Rachel loves like thriller mystery stuff. So we would read something like Gone Girl.
Yeah.
And she loves the movie Gone Girl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was a great movie. And I'd read the book, and I'd be like, that's a great book. It's not my favorite genre. So I literally, like, I would rather read Star Wars, Star Trek, superhero.
And then just watch the adaptation
or
of
like
Gone Girl.
pop culture analysis,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, like this.
Like this. So I found the information. It's called Raise Some Shell Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by Richard Rosenbaum. He actually, I tweeted at him, and I was like, I love your book, dude.
He's
and he
on
followed
Twitter?
me.
Nice.
Yeah, he followed me. He was like, thanks, dude. I appreciate it.
That's
like,
awesome.
Oh, I got to follow him.
Showed him all the love. So if you find this book, read it. If you love Ninja Turtles, read it. Even if you wonder why a geek like me or like us would love Ninja Turtles so much, it's a really introspective look on why they're so important. So
I agree.
Yeah,
that's a great little book. It's like a
real,
quick read.
Yeah, it's a quick read. It's like less than 100 pages, I think, or about 100 pages. It's a little thin book, but he does a good job.
Next question from Dean D'Souza, who's also on the Hyper Homie tier. What do you think about Jeff Fowler, director of the Sonic film, giving the character a makeover to appease fans based on universal critical negativity around the first trailer? Should more directors take internet backlash to heart, or should they stick to their guns? Where do we draw the line between the internet getting what they want versus a director believing in their product? An example of the contrary would be when nobody believed in Batfleck, but he turned out to be one of the best incarnations of Batman we've seen. P.S. Love the content. Recently boosted up to the Hyper Homie tier because I watch at least one of your videos a day. Thank you so much for the question.
One a day.
What's that Hyper Heroes homie's name?
That's Dean D'Souza.
Dean, first of all, I feel like we were rooting for Affleck. I feel like you might be looking on the dark corners of the internet where it's just people shitting on stuff. Because I feel like when he was announced, we were stoked about it. And then
I don't think he's talking about us specifically. He's talking about the internet in general.
I still feel
the opinion in general.
Generally, again, the internet is different from the real world. I feel like generally people were like, yeah, that's it.
That's a dope casting.
Great actor. I can't wait to see that movie. And I think he turned out a great performance. Like no one's like he's the worst. Bad part about that movie. I also think that I'm really pissed about this news because I don't like that the internet got something.
Same.
I don't like the fuss that people made over this. Versus other things.
Right.
Especially because it's like, here's my dumb take on this. It's like, look, man, if you really care about like the sanctity of the Sonic franchise, which I get because I'm that way with like Mario, Ninja Turtles, so on and so forth. People think Batman is stupid. There are people that think Batman is stupid. And I think Batman's great and serious and deserves to be treated with respect. If you're mad, if you love Sonic that way, and you're mad that like he looks that way, aren't you mad that this doesn't take place in like a place
Sonic
called
universe?
the Green Zone? Like, aren't you mad that it's like?
Didn't you see there was a ring he tossed that turned into like a teleportal thing?
Aren't you mad that like
you're not mad about
Dr. Robotnik is apparently like a military scientist and like they're gonna try to weaponize him and he's like yelling at Neil McDonough.
There's one clip at the end of the trailer that like statics in. I'm like, isn't that what the Sonic movie should be?
Right, but even then, like, so like this movie's gonna come out and it's still gonna be Alvin and the Chipmunks with Sonic. Like it's still like a live action actor dealing with like James Marsden, who's wonderful, dealing with
James Marsden.
So it's like when if you love the Smurfs world, were you mad that when that movie came out, it was Neil Patrick Harris in New York with his wife, and then they like the Smurfs come to our world? Like, aren't you mad at that idea versus what they looked like?
Right.
So
they're not. Like from day one, people were upset about what he looked like. Yeah. Even in the silhouette, he just looked like a guy wearing a onesie. Yeah. You know. Yeah. I understand it because aesthetically, that motherfucker's ugly.
It's ugly.
Like he is ugly. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't care enough about Sonic to say like, oh, this needs to change it or I'm never going to watch it. I'm already not going to watch it, no matter how he looked, because I'm just not a giant Sonic fan.
And here's the worst part. Like, I wanted this movie to come out the way that it came out because there were producers and creatives who made the decisions they made to make this movie. Right. I want this movie to come out and for it to be received however it's going to be received.
However it is,
final product. And then if it's super, super bad, I don't want those producers to work again.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I'm sorry.
Get called out.
You're going to put out a trailer and then change stuff. Like, if this was y'all's vision, this is what you were hired to do based on the budget and the time and the contracts, and you work for, what is this, Paramount? And this is Paramount being like, this is what we're doing. And it turns out very epically bad and people dislike it, then y'all should not do that again.
Own your mistake.
Y'all should not make a Sonic 2. Y'all should not work in the department of adapting stuff. Go do other Paramount movies. Like, that's how I feel, and it's a bummer because there's tons of artists underneath them that might want to say something they never can.
And that they're all feeling the heat now.
They're going to be breaking their backs to fix. That's what's frustrating.
Exactly.
That's where I lie in this whole thing. I don't care about Sonic enough to have an opinion about it. You know, internally, I saw the trailer and I was like, I don't really like the way the character looks. But someone responded to a tweet that I put out today, and they said like, well, doesn't that fall on the artist? No,
it does.
Artists are not responsible for the designing of the character. They are following the directors and the producers and the people making them. They're following their lead. Right. They have the final say on that, not the VFX artists. Right. And it sucks because this movie comes out in November, which means that from 2 days ago all the way until this movie comes out 6 months from now,
they have to do everything
they
over
are going
again.
to be breaking their backs 6 to 7 days a week, 12 plus hours a day, every single day, because the internet complained about how this character looked. These people are going to be suffering every single day until this movie is done. And the thing that's even worse about it, and we know this because we worked in this industry, their studios don't compensate artists extra because they have to double down on the work and redo stuff. Like, it's like, hey, it's business as usual. If we can afford it, we'll buy you guys lunch next week.
Hey, but guess what? You're going to be sleeping under your desk for 4 hours so you can get back to work.
Yeah, well, especially with all the bidding that happens and stuff.
If more people on the internet knew what it took to replace plates and to recreate assets, and right now they're asking for a whole character redesign. It means a whole new fur, whole new rigs, like whole new facial structure, like everything, animation, everything has to be changed. This rig was built specifically for this character, so everything has to be changed.
And the way it interacts with like real people.
Exactly. Like there's so many problems, and if more people knew about what it actually took to do this, they wouldn't be asking for it.
And you know what's going to suck is all the people who have complained about it likely will not see it, even once it's changed.
Exactly. That's the thing.
So I'm like, Paramount, you should have just doubled down and just went with it.
Own it, and then if it does well, you keep going with that ugly ass Sonic.
That's right.
Basically, and the worst thing is, this movie will come out, and those creatives, executives, those like supervisors, the people at the top will continue to get jobs.
And here's the thing they're gonna say: if it is successful, they'll be like, "Well, my team did all this work in 6 months, and that's it." Like, you don't care about what happened to the artist in those 6 months. You're just going to tout the fact that you were able to change everything and not give your artist praise. Like, those people were the ones who actually did all the work. You just told them to do it.
There was one mildly frustrating thing when I watched the Academy conversation with Marcus McFeely, Kevin Feige, and Joe Russo, where they talked about, where the writers were talking about how they said that if Thanos doesn't work, the movie doesn't work. There needs to be a gravitas, and there needs to be a realism to Thanos. Right. And them explaining how the visual effects artist presented that to them. They went in there and they just pushed the button. I don't know. I don't understand how the technology works. I'm like, don't do that. Don't just say they pressed a button. Say it took hundreds of hours for multiple artists to light the character, to capture the character, to skin the character, to rig the character. Like, you can't just have such a surface level response to that. No. It's your responsibility as the filmmakers behind the movie to say it took countless hours, teams of people to create this, and not just say it took a button. Even if you're being sarcastic, you're taking away the hard work that's put into it.
And they probably said that to not daunt, like,
of course,
the interviewer or whatever, but No, dude, you're not doing your artists any favors. You're not making yourself look good either.
Yeah.
Especially to people who kind of know, like we do. We're like, no. It's not just that.
Yeah.
People think there's a make awesome button on the keyboard.
Yeah.
There's no.
And he
make
literally
awesome
said
button.
that.
A make awesome button.
There's a make Thanos button. You guys should be able to find it. And I'm like, don't do that, even if it's as a joke. Like,
so
as the writer, you've been on these Marvel movies for 9 years or 8 years. You should at least now have somewhat of an understanding of what it takes.
I'm sure
like
they do.
As writers, you would hope that people would respect and understand what it takes to at least write a movie.
Right.
So, next question.
The credits for Sonic better be 20 minutes long.
Yeah, for real.
And I'm gonna stand up and clap if they're able to change that Sonic. I'm just like, these motherfuckers. I want all these guys on my team.
They need to be highlighted in blue, like Sonic, like
redo team.
Like redo team. I'll be like,
yep.
They
real.
pulled it off.
No
next question comes from our good friend Smilin' Tone, who's in the Gritos group.
Wait, did we pass one?
Oh, did we?
Yeah, well, no, we're going to.
All right, we'll come back to it.
Okay.
But we need a grito from
what
you.
What are you talking about?
We passed.
Okay, you want to come back to that one?
Yeah, we'll come back to it. We need
guys,
but we need a grito from you.
This one's for you remember Tone, right? We've met him at Comic-Con several times. This one's for you, Tone. I didn't want to blow your guys' ears out on that one.
He goes, "Hello, my handsome baby boys. I just want to know when's the last time you cried at a movie or a TV show? Mine recently happened with Doom Patrol Season 1, Episode 11, and Avengers Endgame. Big love to y'all. Thank you so
Avengers
much, man.
Endgame, just cried. Just watched it for fourth time and cried.
I get emotional.
Yeah.
I get emotional a lot throughout that
about
movie, and when I think about it, but there's also like certain moments that hit me depending on like if I watch it in IMAX or if I watch it in 3D and I realize or notice something new, I'm like, oh, they just sprinkled this great thing in there.
Yeah.
So
mine was probably Endgame, but I also want to ask you guys a question. Do you remember the first time you cried at a movie in general? Like the first time you were like, fuck, this movie's making me cry.
I think My Girl.
Anywhere, like whatever you saw.
I think it was My
that
Girl.
made you cry. Okay,
yeah, and back in 1991, and when Thomas J. obviously gets stung up by the bees and dies, like that, I was really young. I think I was like 5-ish or so or something like that. That hit me pretty hard.
The first time I cried, and this was a heavy one, was watching Grave of the Fireflies. Dude. Have you guys ever seen Grave of the Fireflies?
No, I have not yet.
Okay. You're going to watch it once, and you're never going to watch that movie ever again. It's a movie that has to do with Japan during World War I and the fallout of, like families dying and all this stuff. So it's the story of this boy and his sister, and his mom gets burned in the fire bombings. And he has to take care of his little sister.
Oh, man.
And he's starving to death.
How old were you?
I don't know how old I was. I was like in high school.
Okay, so you were older. You weren't a kid.
So I was a kid, but I had never had that kind of emotional response to a movie.
So
exactly, it was an animated film. But also, I had a younger sister at that time too. Like I was roughly the same age that boy was, and my little sister was roughly the same age that little girl was. And she had the little bob haircut too. So me and her were watching it, and I was just like, and I looked at her, and I lost it, dude. Just freaking lost it. So. That's a tough movie. I would say it's a much watch movie, but it's one of those one and done. You're never gonna want to watch it again because it's just emotionally gonna wreck you completely.
Sounds like it.
It may have been not in theaters, but when they showed it on TV, it may have been The Iron Giant.
Ooh,
when I was like 12.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I knew as a child that The Land Before Time was super sad. But
yeah.
So and I don't remember if I cried when Littlefoot lost his mom, but like. I knew it was sad.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Maybe I did. I can't remember.
I knew there was sad moments, but like, and also there was moments where I wouldn't let myself cry because I'm like, oh, well, I'm a man. I don't cry at movies, whatever. But that one just broke all my barriers. I was like, this hits me to my core, and that's when I kind of started accepting it, and that's why we're so open now, where we'll cry at a drop of a hat.
Iron Giant was the one before that. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That was Iron Giant when we all saw.
We all went, all of us. We brought Keller and
the
everybody.
The whole theater
we just
was
like
weeping.
Superman. Oh no!
It took Cynthia like credits, but then like 10 minutes after to feel okay after that movie. That movie just wrecks you.
Next question comes from Gayaz, who's in the Hyper Homie tier. Namaste, Hyper Homies. Hope you are doing great. I just have one hypothetical question for you three, as I'm curious about your musical choices. If you were supposed to go on a very long voyage and were only allowed 3 albums as your choice or your source of entertainment, what would they be? Albums which you'll enjoy even after the 3,000th loop. They may be of any genre or language. My bed is on Mad Max Fury Road, Bohemian Rhapsody soundtrack, soundtrack and Awesome Mix Volume 1. Curious to know yours. Cheers. That's a good question. I've been listening to a lot of music these last few weeks, but I probably would have to go with, let's see, you were asking for specific albums. I would probably have to go with Minutes to Midnight.
By
Linkin Park.
Okay.
How the West Was Won, which is by Led Zeppelin. It's a live album.
Okay.
And my third one, I'm gonna pick a sound. I'm gonna pick a score. I would probably go with. Damn, I might go with Star Wars: A New Hope.
That's a good call.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any score. Well, actually, the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah. Doesn't
because
count.
that's like.
Doesn't count.
Yes, it does. It's all one giant movie.
No, it's not.
And the scores are used in every single movie. So yes, that counts.
Doesn't count. And you pick one movie, brother. You got Two Towers. Boom, you're stuck with it.
Oh man. I would probably take.
I was gonna pick a playlist. I was like, that's kind of cheating.
Yeah, that's kind of cheating. So it would have to be probably Deltron 3030.
That's
dude.
so good.
That's such a good album. You still have to listen to that one, Hector.
Oh, man.
And then I would probably take Discovery by Daft Punk because I would need something to just like keep me going.
Man. Yeah,
that's one that
good.
you gotta do. Yeah,
this is tough.
That was
I'm
tough.
looking through all my artists though, and I'm just like, fuck. But I need that
runner-ups for me. I think
the
would be.
Strokes.
I think runner-ups for me would be Tron Legacy and Bastille. Any album.
You're
from
a big fan of Bastille. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go with. All right, I guess.
Are you looking through your Spotify or through your?
Yeah, man. This is literally my iPod. It just has all my music on it.
I'm looking at all my artists right now.
I'll go with. I can't believe I have
It's
to
a
do
tough
this.
choice. It's a real tough choice.
Ooh, all right, here's gonna be my three. First one, Ben Folds Live.
Okay.
Album came out when I was in high school.
Okay.
And I still love it, and I'll still listen to it and cry at certain songs. I think it's wonderful. I could listen to it forever. I'm gonna go Tron Legacy. Daft Punk.
Okay.
Great choice.
All time.
Great choice.
With that crazy.
So good.
Yep.
All right, I gotta stop. And I'm gonna go with Avengers Endgame.
It's great.
Alan Silvestri.
Dude,
Right
Portals
on.
is
It
my shit.
Dude, that shit at the gym. The rowing machine is toast, brother. I'm like, oh my god.
The rowing machine is starting to spark like starting to spark like the portal.
Oh shit! Oh my god!
He starts playing Worth. He starts playing Worth It, and it's the part where Cap catches the hammer. Dun, dun, dun.
Somehow the rowing machine is like moving across the floor.
Yeah, I'm like rowing through the gym, like a fucking goofy cartoon.
Can I
Bugs
share a
Bunny
story
cartoon.
really quick? So I went to we have a gym right by our place, and I went 2 days ago. And there's nothing more intimidating than feeling good that you went to the gym, going up the stairs to go to the free weights, and at the top of the fucking stairs is Tyler Hoechlin lifting weights.
Oh.
Who plays Superman on Supergirl.
Yeah.
And I went, I feel like shit.
Yeah, that's,
I went, oh no.
Yeah.
That's happened to me at my gym too. David Ramsey, who is on the show
really?
Arrow,
No
plays
way.
Diggle on Arrow.
Yeah.
I've seen him there a couple of times. So I'm like, fuck, man. You gotta
The rowing feels real slow all of a
These
sudden.
dudes that are just like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm like, God
Yeah.
damn it. And I've seen, like, Los Angeles is the worst place to attempt to go to the gym because the
all these celebrities.
the sickest, most shredded people. I'm like, what are you doing here? Why are you
Yeah.
here?
You win.
Go, you
won the gym.
You won. Go home and eat a donut. What are you doing? Why aren't you sitting at home on your ass
Yeah.
watching a movie?
Your own show.
Exactly.
Phenomenal. Your body is
Exactly.
sick, dude. What are you doing?
You won the war.
To
It's-
me,
it is
to me, it's the opposite because I go to a boxing gym in East LA.
Yeah.
To me, it's these little tiny 8-year-olds who are busting these combos, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, I'm just gonna give up. I'm just that's it. I can never move as fast as this kid moves. So
There'll
I'm
always be
just like,
somebody better than us, but
yep. And
we're
mine
also
are
really
8 years
lucky
old.
Oh,
to,
God.
Yeah.
have the bodies that we have.
Okay, next question.
Are we though?
I mean,
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Philip Rosenquist, who's in the Bonjour tier. Thank you so much.
Buongiorno.
Philip says, I'm a Danish guy that has been following you guys since 2015, while I have been working in China and the Czech Republic.
Yeah, I know why you chose this one.
I wish you would have told us when we were there. That would have been
Yeah.
great. My question is, if DC and Warner kept Henry Cavill in the DCEU, how would you like to redeem the character based upon what has already happened in the DCU with Superman?
Oh, sweet
Thank you
Jesus.
for an always great show.
We could shoot a whole nother episode on that.
I would have actually just used what was already there. I would have used all the material that Zack Snyder created with the character, and I would have just built off of that. And the biggest thing that I would have put into that character's story is humanity's love for Superman
Right.
and what
Right.
Superman does to win over humanity,
Right.
to prove to mankind that he is the world's greatest hero.
Right.
Done.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I feel like there's nowhere to go but up for him at this point. So we could really explore and have a movie that doesn't necessarily have like a super bad villain, but some villain that makes him realize who he is or what he means to the world, or like just something that like, I don't know. I don't even know where to begin, but like have more of an emotional connection between Clark Kent and the people of Earth who he feels so closely connected to. And we're missing that, but that's still a place where they could go in these movies. This Superman that they left us with is not irredeemable. Like he's still got plenty of story to tell. Yeah. And it should be Cavill.
There's seeds. The seeds are all there. Like you can make it all work great.
Yeah.
I think thematically, I might use Bizarro to tell that story.
Sure.
That would be great.
What you guys
Yeah.
are talking about, to have Luthor or somebody make a Superman clone,
Right.
who is at first the same, and then all of a sudden you're like, this guy's a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the world is like, we don't like Superman.
Yeah.
Just kind of like how the real world is.
Yeah.
And who was it? Did we talk about this last week? No, I think it was my buddy Cameron Rice who said he saw somewhere online that he feels like the observation is right now the people think of the X-Men movies the way that the Marvel Universe in-universe think of the actual X-Men versus the Avengers. Everyone loves the Avengers movies, and the X-Men movies are all like, oh, we don't.
Yeah.
It's just like how those teams are in that world.
Yeah,
So like,
exactly.
do a story about how Superman maybe isn't thought of so highly.
Right.
But then by the end of that movie, you win everybody over.
Exactly.
The world,
Exactly.
the audience, but
Yep.
the world. And
People
if the-
walk out of that
if-
going, he's my favorite.
Yeah.
if there were people that were already Superman supporters, great. You know who that's represented by? Bibbo Bibowski. Do
Yep.
you know what I mean? Like the Superman characters that are loyal, the Jimmy Olsens,
Yeah.
the Lois Lanes. Well,
Absolutely.
he's dead.
Yeah.
Never mind. Can't do that. But you know what I mean? Like the supporting characters that are important to Superman's world.
Like
you
Jimmy
know,
Olsen,
like,
yeah.
like Perry White and shit. Like
Oh,
those
yeah,
characters
yeah,
that are
yeah.
there with
Yeah,
great actors.
totally.
And Lois and everything, and focus on that and have Bizarro be. I would have Bizarro be this thing that at first people are like, no, Superman's, I don't like him, and then you reveal this guy is Bizarro,
Right.
and Luthor's trying to like frame him or something,
Right,
and then have the real Superman. You know, have a scene where he goes to save somebody, and that person's like, "You suck, dude," and he's just like, "That's fine, I'm gonna save you." Still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Right,
su-
right,
this
right.
is what I'm gonna do.
This is who I am.
I care about
Yep.
you.
Yep.
You can say you don't like me, you hate me. I get it. I'm gonna, I care about you.
Yeah.
And you put in that scene with from All-Star Superman, the greatest Superman moment where he saves a woman from committing suicide.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Those
the,
kinds of,
yep.
and just like that's the movie. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah. It's self-contained. It's very reflective. That's where Superman needs to go.
Shines.
Yeah.
That's where he shines. Next question comes from Jamaica Raquel Hayes, who's in the Gritos tier.
Did she get one? Oh yeah, she got a half one in the free.
You better give her a full one, homie. That was a good one.
Yeah, I had to block the microphone on that one.
I know there are a ton of book clubs out there, and even some that you guys have led. But I'm kind of feeling a Hyper Homies book club in the future.
no.
Yes,
Oh,
no,
no.
love you
Oh,
guys.
man.
Keep being you. So
Can I stop you right there before you add this sucker to a fucking Patreon tier?
yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
If and when we get to do Invincible, I feel like that's the beginning of
a
that.
book club.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would love to do maybe like a once a week comic club.
Yeah.
Or hey, we're gonna look at this comic this month
Right.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
Like that'd be rad. I'd love to do tying into movies that are coming
Yeah.
out. That would be rad.
I would be rad
But-
if this was my full-time job.
Yeah.
Right. It's just a matter of scheduling, and once we have everything kind of figured out with our schedules,
Yeah.
and a well-oiled machine, and that
Exactly. And it goes back to the same thing about the TV stuff. Like doing a full season of TV is a really, really big commitment. And, if it's a shortened season, it's more plausible. But if it's like a 23 episode binge, it requires a lot of planning, a lot of time. And again, if this was something that we were doing full time, it'd be possible. These are all great ideas that we can potentially put on a list of to-dos
Yeah.
once we get to a certain point.
Right.
what would be
Exactly.
great? I know that on DC Universe, communities there do this anyway. They
book clubs.
They have book clubs. They have stuff that they kind of come together and read during that month. Maybe that the Hyper Homies on our Patreon.
Maybe Jamaica
You know what I mean?
organizes a book club
can,
for the
organize
homies.
something, and it could be something that we make recs
Yeah.
for
Right,
stuff,
right,
but
right.
it's not necessarily a show. It's
Right.
just us just
Here's a
Yeah.
great book.
tuning in, checking in, be like, hey,
Or maybe
Dark
even
Phoenix
they
is coming out.
record a quick little session that they had talking about their
Sure.
favorite books. We could cut it in. We could splice it in, right?
I love the idea.
We might be able
that
to splice it in.
This community, our community, would want to do that with each other. Which
Yeah,
I think is
that
awesome.
could be awesome.
That would be
again,
cool.
regardless of whether it's a thing we record or it's a
Yeah.
show or whatever,
Yeah.
to just be able to maybe even the three of us can figure out or whatever something
Yeah.
that's hey, the month of June, the book
Right.
club book
Yeah.
Right.
is
whatever you guys want to do. Yeah.
What book?
June. Oh, yeah, movies coming out.
Movies?
Oh, movies coming out in June?
Comic book movie.
Dark Phoenix.
That's June? I thought that was May.
No, it's June.
It's
June 7th.
Then it would be like, the Dark Phoenix Saga.
The Dark Phoenix Saga, yeah.
Chris Claremont, John Byrne. Like,
everybody read that.
Everybody read it. Like,
and then if you're in LA, maybe we'll drop by a session of you guys or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, no, but seriously, no, I think
your house.
Yeah, we'll come into your house or like.
What's up? What you reading?
Yeah, what you reading, fool?
What's your snacks?
No, but it's true. I think it would be really
you got
cool.
any beers?
I think it would be really cool if the community did get together and did start putting something like that, so we can sort of get a gauge and a feeling of like how many people are actually interested in this, and then we can find a way of like how we can contribute to it, whether it is like giving you recommendations, and at the end of the month we do like a little 3-paragraph little review of like what our personal thoughts were as like a post, and then you guys can start talking about it in the comments of that. Like, there's plenty of things that we can do.
Lots of things, yeah.
Thank you for this suggestion.
But yeah, it's a great suggestion.
That's awesome.
Make it happen, Jamaica.
Last question of the night from Jose Paz, who's in the Hyper Homie tier. Also, no pressure. Hey guys, I'm a huge fan of your work. I was wondering if you guys had other hobbies besides movies, television, or comic books.
I love to crochet. Crochet when I can.
You do not crochet.
I have an extensive stamp collection. I like to golf. I'm a golfer. I'm fixing up an old car right now.
I've seen your room, Hector. You do not crochet.
What are you talking about? I'm fixing up an old.
He crochets comic books from other comic books.
It's just a hobby that I have. I'm writing a book.
Billionaire genius, playboy philanthropist.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the title.
That's the title of the book.
That's all. Yeah, I'm raising a
Or
child.
How to Be Brown in Hollywood.
I adopted a kid.
You dropped
How
it.
to Be Brown.
I did.
That's your book name, yeah.
Mine is watching hockey. I guess that's a hobby. And photography. I'm really big into photography.
That's right. You take some good pictures.
Thanks.
My homie. I'm into way too much stuff.
You're the hobby master.
I'm legit fixing 2 old motorcycles right now.
I think I was making fun of you just now. I'm sorry,
yeah, no.
I'm doing things as a bit, like,
yeah, no.
I'm like, I don't have any time. And you're like, no, for real.
No, like I have two
motorcycles.
motorcycles that I'm fixing right now. I'm building a loft in my garage tomorrow. I'm growing an avocado tree, which I'm really into right now. So I'm starting to learn about dirt biology.
I feel like when you get a house, that's when you get hobbies.
That's
like
basically what
hobbies,
happens. Yeah, like what else?
Like extensions of housework.
Yes, exactly. That's what it is basically. Like
pulling roots out the ground.
I was weed whacking last weekend.
Yeah.
Like,
your hobby
no
is
joke.
nesting. Your hobby is making your house awesome.
Well, that's the thing. Like, there's a wall that needs to be repaired, so I'm kind of learning like what it would take to rebuild a cinder block wall. So there's just
the one in their backyard.
Yeah, exactly. That leaning
slanted
wall.
one.
Yes, that leaning wall.
I hope you stay the fuck away when those bricks come down. Holy
that's
shit!
What I'm saying. That thing's leaning like crazy. What else? I play drums.
Camping.
What else do I do? I love camping. Yeah. Backpacking. I'm going backpacking next month.
I'm loving the fact that I get to travel a lot more.
Traveling, dude. I was looking at our talk pictures
for sure.
yesterday, and I was "Fuck, we need to do this again." Like traveling is a big priority for me now as well too. Yeah. Well, that's my workout.
Martial arts.
Sure.
I don't do martial arts.
Well,
I guess I have done a little bit of fly fishing. Yeah.
Competitive spelling bee.
That was the other thing too. A lot of people have asked about us traveling. Again, if Patreon does well, then there's opportunities for that, or sponsors.
Yeah. If this becomes more of a full-time thing, then yes, there is more time for that kind of stuff. Cool. But I'm sure there's going to be a million other things that I'm into afterwards. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hey
Cool.
man, have you seen Shazam yet?
No, that's the problem. I haven't seen Shazam, and I've only seen Infinity War once because of all this shit going on. Oh yeah, sorry, Endgame. See, I'm all confused now. So, I've only seen Endgame once because I have so much. Like all this weekend is literally building a loft in my garage. So
oh my God,
you'll get it done.
I'm going to Disneyland on Sunday. I'm real excited. I've been putting it on the back burner for like 3 months.
And I'm getting married in October, so that's happening too.
I know, man.
So much shit going on.
Nice knowing you.
Once you get married, it'll get easy. No, it'll just be.
Just gonna be building houses on houses.
I know, right?
Oh man! But guys, thank you so much for all the amazing questions. Thank you for everybody for watching. If you have any comments on anything that we talked about, any other Easter eggs you might have found in Avengers Endgame, please let us know. If you have any other suggestions on things that you would like to see us potentially do on Patreon, either go to the Patreon and let us know in the community tab, or let us know in the comments below. And again, like we're all about working with you guys and seeing things that you would like us to do that are within reason that we actually can do and we can accomplish. Starting out, obviously, moving commentaries once a month. That's something that's really fun for us to be able to just watch and introduce each other to new movies and all kinds of stuff. So we thank you guys for your support. If you're on the podcast, jump over to the YouTube channel. If you're on the YouTube channel, get the podcast on the go. I love seeing posts and tweets from people who are listening to podcasts on the go. It's great. I'm really glad that you guys are utilizing that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you next week.